Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. Before checking your phone, before reading messages, before stepping into the world, you sit quietly and say to yourself, "Today I will meet people who are selfish. Some will be impatient. Some will be arrogant. Some will be jealous. Some may even be cruel." At first, this sounds pessimistic, almost depressing. But Marcus Aurelius believed it was one of the most practical ways to begin a day. Because much of our suffering comes not from reality itself, but from being surprised by reality. This is how Meditations Book 2 begins. Not with a complaint about humanity, not with hopelessness, but with preparation. Marcus understood something that many of us spend years learning. People will disappoint us. Not always, not everyone, but often enough. And when we expect perfection from human beings, frustration becomes inevitable. There is an old story about a monk who lived near a busy road connecting several villages. Every day, travelers passed through. Some were kind, some were impatient, some were rude. One morning, a young student asked him, "Master, how do you remain calm when people treat you badly?" The monk smiled and pointed toward the sky. Dark clouds were gathering. "Do you become angry when it rains?" The student laughed.
"Of course not. Rain is simply what clouds do." The monk nodded. "And people often act according to the storms inside them." Perhaps this is what Marcus wanted us to understand. Not that bad behavior should be excused, not that we should tolerate abuse, but that human weakness should not shock us. Because when we expect flawless behavior from imperfect people, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. Think about how often a ruined day begins with a broken expectation. Someone was rude. Someone ignored us. Someone acted selfishly. Someone failed to appreciate our effort. And suddenly our peace becomes hostage to another person's behavior. Marcus offers a different path, a path that begins with acceptance. Not acceptance of injustice, acceptance of reality.
Human beings are capable of kindness, but they are also capable of envy, compassion, and selfishness, wisdom, and foolishness, all within the same person, sometimes within the same hour. There is another story. A traveler once crossed a river to seek advice from a famous monk. When he arrived, he complained endlessly about difficult people. His co-workers, his neighbors, his relatives, everyone seemed impossible. The monk listened quietly, then handed him a small lantern. "Walk with this tonight." The traveler obeyed. Hours later, he returned. "What lesson was I supposed to learn?" The monk asked, "How many times did you stumble?" "Not once," the traveler replied. "I was watching the lantern." The monk smiled. Exactly. When your attention remains fixed on others, you stumble constantly. When you focus on your own light, the road becomes clearer. Perhaps this is one of the deepest lessons in Book 2. You cannot control other people. You cannot control their opinions, their moods, their jealousy, their
anger, their ignorance. But you can control your response.
And that response gradually becomes your character. Marcus was not writing these words from a quiet monastery. He was Emperor of Rome, surrounded by politics, conflict, ambition, betrayal. Yet his greatest battle was not against enemies. It was against the temptation to become like them. Because every difficult person presents a hidden question. Will you allow their behavior to determine yours, or will you remain who you choose to be? This does not mean becoming passive. It does not mean accepting everything. It means protecting something valuable: your inner peace, your judgment, your ability to act according to your values rather than your emotions. The monk understood this. Marcus understood this. And perhaps we need to remember it too. Because the world has always contained difficult people, and it always will. The real challenge is not avoiding them. The real challenge is meeting them without losing yourself. So, tomorrow morning, before the day begins, try something Marcus Aurelius practiced nearly 2,000 years ago.
Remind yourself, today I will meet imperfect people. And then remember something equally important. So will everyone else, including the people who meet you. Sit with that thought. Because wisdom begins not when humanity changes. Wisdom begins when we stop being surprised by humanity. And if this journey made you reflect, write below, what kind of person tests your patience the most, and how do you respond? Subscribe to Why We Think, and together we'll continue exploring the timeless ideas that help us navigate life with greater clarity, resilience, and peace.